There we go. Okay, now we're here. So, if we're going to go through it, grow through it. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for growing through the podcast as I figure out how to introduce this. Yes. So I'm here with Meredith. Hello, Meredith.
Hi, Rob.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Yay! Okay, so this is our second podcast, and we're going to talk about ways to work through pain. That always sounds like fun.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. But since this is, the idea of the podcast is to, as we all suffer through things, we can grow through them to hopefully something better on the other side. So use our struggles for strengths.
Yes.
And we're all going to experience pain, so if we can talk about ways in which to, in a healthy manner, work through that pain, it can benefit all of us and help us live more successful / happier, less miserable lives, I guess.
Yeah. Healthier.
Healthier?
Emotionally healthier.
There we go.
I feel like most people, because I feel like we're just still in an extension of 2020.
Yeah.
Are going through something painful.
Yeah.
And this actually came up in part of a conversation we were having at the gym tonight, and realized, it is Sunday. We've been doing all of our podcasts, all 2 of them,
Yeah.
on Sunday to launch on Monday, and realized, why don't we actually just talk about this?
Yeah.
Because it's very real, very recent, and as you may know, we're doing this because we want to all help.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're in a business of help, where I'm in a business of help. It makes sense. So that's kind of a little backstory for how we landed on the topic.
Mm-hmm.
Because, how random to all of a sudden just talk about pain, right?
Yeah, I think that's...
We're a happy couple. We don't have pain.
Yeah.
No.
And that doesn't even mean, like we help each other through pain.
Yeah.
Just because, like you brought up in the introduction podcast, the first one was that just because you're in a healthy relationship doesn't mean you won't have other struggles. So when you would have struggles, and somebody said, well, at least you have Rob, you're almost like, screw you, because that doesn't negate everything.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that, for sure. It's nice to have that component of your life, but it doesn't fix everything else.
Yeah. And you know best, probably, that I am so skeptical because good things... I always say, and this may sound a little dramatic or drastic, but I always say good things don't happen to me.
Yeah, and then I immediately try to say, like, no, it's okay, it's fine, like, here's a good thing that happened.
Shut up, nothing.
Yeah, I'm usually like, well, you found a penny on the floor the other day. And you're like, that's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you are, you're the good thing. You are one of the good things, but there's a lot there that even when, and I think at the core of all of these podcasts and future ones, it really comes down to knowing yourself and to recognize your emotions when you're experiencing something painful.
Yes.
Recognizing your triggers. Why is it painful? Is it because it's your trigger? Is it because it's new? Is it because you're trying to figure out what the triggers are? Any of those types of things. So I think once we eventually get into the actual conversation part of the podcast, it'll come to light. But that's just some background, because I haven't typically been very vulnerable about a lot.
No.
And that's largely in part due to being an introvert. It's largely in part to having a very small group of very close friends. I enjoy talking with everybody. I enjoy a lot of different types of people. I just enjoy that, and I can appreciate, everyone's uniqueness and things like that. But I don't tell everybody.
Yeah.
What's going on. So we'll get into a little bit of that.
Yeah, we're one-on-one people.
Yeah.
And then also you can enjoy conversations with people, but it doesn't mean that they need to know everything about you.
Yeah, overshare.
That's definitely introvert kind of behavior. It's I have people I love having conversations with about gym. Exercise and fitness and things. But I'm also not going to tell them all of my emotional troubles. Yes. Yeah. So it's understanding that. And you mentioned knowing yourself. And that's the idea of today's podcast, is us talking about ways to manage pain, is know what your strengths and weaknesses are, know how to direct yourself in a positive way through pain. So you can actually turn that struggle into a strength. And like you said, it's almost like identifying what your natural behaviors would be, but then trying to direct that, if it's a negative natural behavior, direct that towards something positive.
Right.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah. So we have 4 ways that we have written down. We might kind of come up with more as we go. But 4 ways we have written down on kind of ways to manage pain, or hardships is a healthy distraction is one of them. So a lot of times when we're going through pain, we have this kind of bottled up emotional energy, and it can be very challenging as to know what to do with that, and that can lead into, you know, self-abuse, drug abuse, like lashing out on people, just acting like a punk. So directing that in a more healthy way, and we'll elaborate on this as we go, but that helps you kind of divert that energy towards something healthy to ensure it's not going to have a negative cascading kind of ricochet consequence in your life. Yes. Yeah. Another one we thought of is journaling, and the benefits of like brain dumping, just getting things out of your head. That helps to kind of just clear some of the clutter in your mind. And then, like, one thing I like to do in regards to journaling concepts is, if I think through what I've struggled through, how can I use that struggle in the future? What is a lesson I learned?
Right. Oh, yeah.
And for 100%. Me, if I can come out of it with a lesson learned, it then makes me feel better about having experience, because I'm like, okay, I had this negative experience once, but now thanks to this lesson, I can prevent multiple negative experiences in the future. Yeah. Yes.
Which is a very unique trait. And part of that is probably leads into the third one, which was education.
Yeah,
so, like,
education.
Reading about it. I know, I mean, just for me personally, I would usually try to seek out information first. Or I'm highly introspective, you know, an intrinsic motivated person, intrinsically motivated. So I usually look inside for all of it. So, you know, reading a book really does help. I remember someone telling me I was too sensitive. Oh, I mean, 18 and 19 too. You're too sensitive. Like,
how are you supposed to care less?
Number one, are all teenagers like sensitive? But then, like, also, is this a bad thing? So I was reading books. I went to Barnes and Noble, and I picked up books about being a highly sensitive person because I wanted to know, how do I fix it?
Yes. Back
when I thought I needed to fix it.
Back when we thought we could fix everything. Oh, yeah. Or it was like our responsibility to fix everything.
Oh, honey.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah, so reading about that, but then also picking that up, thinking I was reading it to try and fix it, and how do I not be sensitive? And then I realized, oh my gosh, this does sound like me, and I am sensitive, and it's not, I can't flip the switch and turn it off. It's just not something I could do. But long, short saying, you know, I wanted to go read a book. 5 Love Languages is another book.
Oh, awesome book, yes.
Books about conflict, books about leadership, books about speaking in general. Books helped a ton through a lot of what I was going through. Yeah. And then lastly being counseling. Of course, you know, you can talk to a friend too, but we did discuss that we wanted to mention the difference between a friend and a counselor.
Yes, because a lot of people do say, like, well, I talked to my friends about it, and it's like, well, I don't know if your friends are fully equipped to be able to help you manage this.
Right, and they'll probably tell you what to do. Oh, just break up with them, and it's like,
that's probably not good.
Even if that's what you should, you know.
It's like, usually it's black and whites.
They see black and white, they take your side, they often don't get you to, you know, maybe they don't play devil's advocate because maybe you're not someone that's ready to, you know, play devil's advocate.
And a lot of people aren't good listeners. They're not active listeners. They won't let you talk through something.
Right.
They'll immediately want to jump in and try to fix it
Immediately give
for
advice.
You.
What's the... Who's the book I read? Stop Feeling Like Shit. Who wrote the book? I already forgot.
Oh, I forgot her name.
We'll have to Google it so we can...
Yeah.
We'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, there's a book written by a female titled Stop
Feeling Like Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great book.
Yeah, very good book. But in that, part of it was don't be the person... Like, listen to what does your friend need? And it's, you know, if you feel like shit because someone isn't listening to you, don't do it to them. Yeah. Whereas we've often talked about... As a couple, we came into the relationship having read a ton of books and having worked on ourselves a lot, which is why I think we have such a good relationship, because we worked on ourselves. I know a lot of people really want to work on themselves very well.
No, it's messy. It's ugly. Like, you have to tell yourself that you're the problem.
It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to always look at, you know, to look deep at like that.
It can be overwhelming, for sure. Yeah.
But yeah, part of that was, you know, you can go to a friend, but be sure, really have that conversation where it's, hey, I either need you to listen or I need advice. Or if you are listening, if you're on the receiving end of your friend, ask them, hey, do you want me to listen or do you want advice right now?
Yeah, that's very true.
Because, and that was one of the points of the book, and that immediately eliminates conflict, because I don't even know if a lot of people know what they want. they're venting.
That's very true.
But they don't know, do you get triggered if someone tries to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get, and most men are fixers, so that's immediately, women want to be heard and men want to fix things, and
yes.
then boom, there's like blow ups all the time.
Yeah.
But friendships can be the same way.
Yeah.
And, so do yourself a favor, pick up the book, it's a great book. But also, if you are the receiving friend, ask them. And who knows, maybe you're doing yourselves both a service, because maybe this is the first time someone's ever asked them that.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I never really thought about that.
It's a good framework for the conversation, so that
sure.
way you know how to go about the conversation, have everybody be heard and not misunderstood or frustrated.
Right.
Yeah.
And then eventually, maybe you can learn, like sometimes I'll start a set and say, hey, I just need you to listen, I really don't need advice. Or, I really don't know what to do here, what do you think?
Yes.
And then you start to phrase things in a way that you're not setting your friend or partner up to fail because they don't know what you want from them.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, and I think, like, for those of you who don't know, like, I own a gym and I'm a personal trainer and do, like, nutritional consultation and stuff. And, like, when somebody says, like, when we're talking about counseling, talking to a counselor or a friend, immediately I go to, like, okay, if I want to learn about how to diet, I can ask my neighbor, and they're going to tell me to stop chewing gum. Or they'll
say don't eat carbs.
Yeah, or like, I do a Diet Coke, like whatever all that stupid advice is that you hear from random people. Yeah. Or you can go to somebody who's educated on the matter, and they're going to fill you in a lot
significantly
better.
different. Like, and I've seen, I mean, as soon as I got to college, one of the first things I did, I took advantage of the counseling.
Yeah, that's
free
awesome.
Counseling, and I was, with some stuff I was going through, I was going twice a week. And it changed the way I saw things. It was the first time someone listened to me and didn't tell me what to do or didn't try to fix things and really made me be reflective on it, and it was great and life-changing, and I see a counselor now. So and there's things that I have very, very good friends, and I tell them a lot and talk about a lot.
Yeah, you have great friends.
I keep I try to be respectful. We don't really have anything about our relationship to talk about to like other people, but I know sometimes that can be tricky too. So if you are going to friends and talking about things, just be aware of.
Oh, yeah, that's a whole can of worms right there.
Yeah, we're going to try not to go down that rabbit hole maybe to the podcast.
Well, that's a good, we might have to revisit it with a full one, but that is a good point. It's like, be aware of what you tell your friends, because it's not always true that a friend will betray you and tell other people, but they're more likely than a counselor. To kind of share that information, gossip that a little bit. Yeah. So make sure you pick a trustworthy friend if you're going to do some type of counseling. Yeah. And that's where, like, even journaling, like you brought up the concept of, like, the first time you felt like you were encouraged to be reflective. So sometimes people, when they go to journaling, they'll say, what's the point of me journaling? I'm just going to write down what I already know. Yeah. Well, that's, like, in a good way, and you know more about this than I do, a good counselor will listen. Maybe if they ask you any questions, it's more along the lines of kind of promoting you to talk through things more. Right. So hey, revisit this area and let's talk a little more about this.
And if you want an answer, they won't give you answers. Counselors don't give answers. No. They'll try to steer you. So we're getting into the details about the counseling, but I mean, I guess we could go back through some of those examples because we had said it's a great idea, but not everybody has a significant other. Not everyone has a spouse. Not everyone has a supportive significant other. And not everyone has a supportive spouse. And some people are single. And some people are very happily single. And some people are just really longing so badly for a good catch. Yes. The next, the one. So we want to try to always be cognizant of that when we do the podcast.
Yeah, present both perspectives.
Right. Man, have we been in all of the scenarios.
Yeah.
So
well, let's. Can you think of a trial or trouble that you had when you were single, and how you kind of worked your way through that in the fact of you didn't have a significant other to rely on or use in any way? Yeah. So you want to talk through a moment or any kind of struggle? Okay, which one, huh?
Which struggle? But it's also, I almost say I was usually a serial monogamist. Like I loved love. Yeah. But I didn't have a family where love was healthy. And I was always looking for love. I was looking for that in someone else. Yeah. And I didn't really know yet how to look inside. So to think about a struggle I handled alone.
Well, you used the fitness show.
Well, I wasn't I guess I was single. I was going through a divorce. And at the time, like, I I couldn't go to CrossFit gyms, and I couldn't go to CrossFit. We were both CrossFit coaches, you know, and we both did that all the time. And, you know, I really loved that sport, and it was a huge part of my life. And then I remember doing a back squat, and it would be a squat. CrossFit calls it back squat, but it's a squat. So I was doing a squat in the gym, and then, you know, I was down in the hole, and all of a sudden the bar fell off my back and I just started crying, and everyone thought I was hurt. And I was like, I'm just really sad.
I'm okay.
I'm fine. And it was so embarrassing, but that's when I was like, I need something different. This is not helping. This is not good. And, you know, after some research, I decided, you know what, I'm finally going to go for it, because I always wanted to do bodybuilding.
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting Oxygen magazine when I was young, because I want to look like those people. And then I told myself, don't do it, because, well, clearly if you want to do this, you're just trying to seek attention. Like, I was already way too hard on myself. And I was like, I don't want people to think I want attention, but I feel like I have the genetics where I could do that, and that would be really fun. I really liked working out. So, you know, flash forward 14 years later, I finally decided to go and try bodybuilding. And I was able to, I mentioned it, you know, the first podcast, where I was living in an apartment that I had to put rent on a credit card because I had lost a sales job, and I had an air mattress, and I didn't have a television. And I'm telling you, once I was in that place with no TV and no distractions, I think I cried for like 3 days straight. Mm-hmm. But I went to the gym and started to prep. Prep for show, and that was one of the best things I ever could have done for myself in so many ways. Mm-hmm. I finally said, I'm gonna do this, and I did it. But it was something I was doing for me. Yes. I felt like such a failure day in and day out, and I didn't know what to do. I all of a sudden, you know, couldn't go to CrossFit anymore, and I literally had 0 things to distract me in my apartment. Yeah. And I'm okay, now what? Well, you know, I don't drink, and I wasn't, you know, what was I going to do?
Yeah, before you would even get into those kind of negative habits, you went and found a positive distraction.
Right, and I was like, at least I'll look really good at the end of this if there's anything good that comes out of it. And that was really great. That was really, really helpful. And I'm very thankful I did that. And it's totally, even, you know, in the middle of it, and when I competed, I'm like, this is totally what I'm meant to be doing. And it was just such a blessing. And you never know. I mean, if you're in a situation right now, and you know you need a way to handle it, and you're like, oh, I can't afford the gym right now because who knows what. Yeah. I mean, I literally could not afford anything, and I tried to find ways to make sure I can pay for coaching and pay for the gym. But I also lived in an empty apartment with an air mattress, so I had to forego priorities.
You were willing to forego TV, cable, furniture,
all of it,
because you knew your mental health, like an emotional health, was greater than things. Now, sometimes, you know, a possession can, in a way, be positive for emotional mental health. Right. But it was a much better investment to say, okay, I'm going to invest into my body. Yeah. And that's going to be something I can keep with me.
And it was the discipline. And then I was so hungry, I didn't have any mental space to think of anything else.
Well, the nice part, too, is like if you're dieting and you can't afford food, it's perfect because you're dieting. You wouldn't buy the food if you could afford it, so it's okay if you're poor.
Sadness. Yeah, it's pretty sad. But, I mean, to me, too, it was, the benefits outweighed the cons, where it was, I felt good about the decision because I knew I had to do this for my mental health. I had to do it for my mental health. And I'm so thankful I did it. Yeah. I mean, obviously, look where we are now. But I feel like I could keep talking. I'm going to stop talking, and I'm going to say, how did you handle it when you were single?
Well, that was very good. So, yes. And that's something, like we said, like out of these 4 ways, these are ways that we ourselves have used. We've talked with friends and clients, and they've used these ways, and they've been successful. Mm-hmm. So that's a good example as how you can use like a kind of a healthy distraction and be able to get through that. So something I did a lot when I was by myself was a lot of the combination of education and journaling. So I knew, like you said, you were a serial monogamist. Yeah. I knew that for me personally, like the way my brain kind of works when it comes to relationships is I never wanted to get into a relationship unless I felt that it had a future to it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
So unless there's a purpose to this, I didn't really see the purpose in it. So I guess, if it wasn't going to lead to something, I didn't want to get into it. So, and you've mentioned that's probably odd when it comes to a male perspective in relationships, but it was something where I knew for myself was when I get a healthy relationship, when I get a good Lord, there we go, words, yes. When I get a relationship, I want to make it healthy. Right. And so I did a lot of reading. So I've read a lot of books on communication, like love languages. We talked about love and respect was one that you turned me on to afterwards. Yeah. But I would do a lot of kind of working on myself. So how did if I felt like I was lazy in certain ways and behaviors, I would try to read a book to figure out how to fix it. If I was, having like anger issues and I thought, just kind of angry all day or mad at people, I didn't want that to be something I would carry in a relationship. So I tried to work on solving that. So I read a lot of books, and then I would try to work on that. So if I read a book that day, if I read something, I would try to use that information for the rest of the day. And occasionally I would journal what I felt was helpful, so that way I would always be able to kind of, in a way, reflect back on it later on. But that's something I did a lot when I was by myself. I read a lot of books, and I kind of wrote down what I thought was kind of like a game plan for my future. I prepared for my future, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah. Oh man, I was always journaling. But you know me. If we were to take this camera and film the room, you'd see how many journals I actually own. It's kind of crazy. But I mean, I've did that too, and but I'm realizing we're talking about healthy ways that we've handled things, but let's just say that there were not always healthy ways that I handled things.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, thinking that I was going to go do retail therapy because you hear that all the time.
Yeah, you'd see it in magazines or
I did.
TV.
I used to shop and I, couldn't afford it, but it was like a temporary distraction. And that wasn't good. And it got me into a very bad place. And I was like, oh my God, like I thank goodness and thank God. I mean, I don't do that, but there was a time where I would spend like too much money just to like distract myself, and I'm going to enjoy these things, and these things are going to make me happy, and I'm going to feel better. Same thing with eating, eat your emotions, and I was doing both of those things before I even knew that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
So that was seeing that and going through some things there. I'm sure that'll be future episodes, but it was by the time I got to a place where I'm like, this is a really, really bad place, and how do I do it? It was the reading and journaling and exercising and painting and counseling and all of those that, later in life I realized those were always my go-to. When I was younger, I was not smart in some ways that I handled things.
I think all of us have, like, the first time we experience something, it's, crap luck, whether you're going to get it right in a healthy way or in a negative way. So it's just becoming more aware. And I think what happens is we experience a pain, we have a reaction. Yeah. That reacting behavior either made things worse or it made things better. And what we would like to encourage people to do is to say, okay, let's take inventory. Am I doing something every time I experience a pain that just keeps recycling this pain over and over? Right. Or am I doing something that's building and building upon it? And these are 4 things that we found have been building things. Now, you can, like healthy distraction, for example, physical fitness, that can become a negative. If it does come to restrictive eating, if it does come to over-exercise.
I was going to say that, now you can go to the extreme to where healthy becomes unhealthy. Yes. Because anything can become an obsession. But that's also, again, where counseling can play a role. And these are ways that we handled it. We talked about, I haven't been keeping track of the time, but those were ways we handled them being single.
Yes.
And so then when you have pain, you can handle things similarly in a relationship. And that it can be kind of tricky how to navigate because, you're now either in a healthy relationship or an unhealthy relationship. Yeah. Maybe your parent died and you think you really want a distraction, you want to do a bodybuilding competition, and your spouse, significant other, partner is like, hell no, you're not doing that. And then what do you do?
Yeah.
So there, it can be challenging because then also maybe you're doing that and your spouse's or partner or significant other, whatever that is, says, heck yeah, you know what? That sounds actually pretty cool. I think
How
they want to do it together.
Yeah, how can I help?
Want to do it together. Or they know that they, after a certain time, will go into the fridge and whatever pint of ice cream is there, it's gone by the end of the night. So they vow, okay, I really want to support my partner. This is is a really tough time for them. I'll make sure there's no ice cream in the house. I'll forego that to help them reach their goal. So is it a healthy relationship? Is it a non-healthy relationship? Because then, if you were by yourself, I was by myself. Mm-hmm. No one was telling me, why are you always eating that? You can't eat that. Eat more, and you're no fun. And so it was easy by myself. But then if you're with a partner that isn't supportive, what do you do? And again, I feel like it'll always fall back to counseling or really deep heart-to-heart conversations. So that's another thing. And I've tried to handle things in emotionally abusive relationships, and that's very, very hard. And then it feels like nothing is healthy, however you want to handle it. And then, of course, with you being in a very healthy relationship where it's, I have a lot of pain and I'm very uncomfortable in a circumstance, or something's really bothering me, and I know myself enough to say, I'm probably going to be quiet. Mm-hmm. And then to say, hey, I know I'm really quiet, and I know that this can be hard for you. It's hard for you because of not necessarily you. This isn't.
Yeah, you're just talking like generals.
Yeah, but like maybe your partner is saying, that their trigger, because you've had the conversation. Maybe their trigger is all of a sudden when someone gets quiet and doesn't talk, and all of a sudden they're internalizing everything and it's them. Yeah. So really, it's okay. I'm gonna handle this, and let me just handle it. This is just who I am. But to still be respectful of your partner. So it's, I guess what I'm trying to say is that being in a healthy relationship is a two-way street. Yes. Where it's, you want to handle something, but let your partner know how you need to handle it.
Yeah, like in that scenario, both people could work at that. Like the person who's not talking much because that's how they handle it, they could say, hey, I'm going to need they could talk about their need for space. Right. Then the person who freaks out in space can say, hey, I have to learn to not ask for so much and recognize that just because they're being quiet doesn't mean they're unhappy with me. So it's almost like in a healthy relationship, both people come together for the greater good. Yeah. Whereas in an unhealthy, it feels like you're unsupported completely.
It feels like you're still
by yourself.
Like
fighting somebody else. Yeah, it feels like you're still
Or
alone.
It's even harder. Like, this would be easier if I was by myself, because I feel like I'm getting hit left and right, and I can't do anything. Mm-hmm.
I think a good question to ask, like when you're saying, okay, how do I know if what I'm doing is healthy or unhealthy? Is it making your life better?
Great point.
Are you getting progressively better in challenges and struggles? Mm-hmm. Are you learning how to manage them better with less financial strain, with less emotional strain, with less relationships strained? Mm-hmm. Are you progressively getting better through struggles, or are you running into the same issue over and over and over? Right.
Where it's, okay, maybe... And I hope everyone realizes or starts to think that, okay, if I'm going through a hard time, really do look at yourself. Mm-hmm. Do really try to spend some time figuring out, why am I upset? What brought me here? Does this remind me of something? Is there something similar? Like, every time I felt this way, this has happened. Like, start to take inventory of your emotions, your surroundings, your triggers, the patterns. Really try to look at that. And maybe it's far too hard to talk about that with your partner.
Yeah, right away. That's why you got to journal that.
If it's do your own that's where I was going. Yeah. If it's the first time you're trying to start to have these conversations, put it in a journal, or let your partner know and say, hey, I'm really trying to figure some things out, and reassure them. Know their love languages.
That helps a lot.
Know yours and know theirs. Yeah. Because that'll really help you when you're having a struggle and you're in a relationship. Maybe it's not the one, maybe it's, it's not permanent, or you're unsure if it's not permanent, or you just got married or you just got engaged, whatever it is. Really, really try to reflect and figure out, why is this painful for me right now? Why am I sad? What do I need? Ask all those questions of yourself. Absolutely. And that's going to be probably one of the best things that you can do as you're trying to work through pain. Yeah. Right? Because do yourself do yourself the respect and do your partner that respect to be open and have those conversations.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be something like, what can the listeners take away from this is that these 4 ways that we talked about how to manage pain, they have been ways that we've seen have a positive.
Yes.
Now, anything taken extreme can be negative, but like, is drinking alcohol to forget your problems going to be a positive? Not in any way whatsoever. Is the stuff we're mentioning now going to be a positive? It can be. Yeah. So keep yourself in check, and if you say, okay, am I being too, if one of our like things is to healthy distraction, is that healthy distraction improving your life? Or is it actually causing its own problems?
Right.
Then chances are you've taken it too far.
Yeah.
So, and then if we look at like journaling, if you're writing down things in your own mind, and if that is helping you feel better and more relaxed at night or relaxed in the morning, great. If all of a sudden you're freaking out because you're writing down so much or overwhelmed with it, take a step back. But these are areas for you to start to at least experiment with and see, okay, can I use this in a positive way?
Yeah.
Yes. So again, it was a healthy distraction, doing something to divert your kind of nervousness energy in a healthy way, on purpose, in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Then we had the journaling, which you can do like brain dump. You can do kind of like writing down what has happened and what can you learn from it. Even a gratitude journal to kind of bring you out of negativity.
That's
a great idea. And then we have the education, read a book, find a resource, and then counseling. And whether it's with a friend or counselor, but just kind of getting that connection with somebody, that way to speak into somebody, reflect on it, like you said. These are things that we have found have been positives to work through pain, and we would encourage you to try these
and
ways.
Clearly it's not all the ways, and by no means I feel like it's a huge disclaimer that this is what's worked for us, and these are some things we do. Again, it's not all encompassing, and to tread very lightly on, everything in moderation, and just please be aware to whether, okay, this is fine now, but is this becoming now even more detrimental to my life?
Yeah, always keeping that in mind. Yes.
Right. So you're having a horrible time. You want to have a glass of wine or 2 with your girlfriends, and it's just like a complaint sesh, whatever it is. We're not saying that when we say drinking. We're saying forget to clock into work and
drinking by yourself.
You're by yourself, and
a
all of a sudden this is gone.
Wine.
So just putting that disclaimer out there. No judgment, but just please be careful.
No. And it's it goes back to again that, okay, if I had a glass or 2 with my friends, we had a session just kind of complain about everything, then I feel refreshed, rejuvenated, awesome, and that's probably okay. Yeah. But if you're feeling worse afterwards, then that's probably something to consider readjusting.
Maybe I need to do something else in addition to.
Yes. Yeah.
And now part of being in a healthy relationship and handling things and handling troubles, because Lord knows 2020 through a lot. Yeah. It's also allowing, if your partner is supportive, allowing that to happen.
Yeah, allowing them to join
friends. Allowing friends to care for you. That's something that's been very, very hard for me personally. Is there was a trend. There was always people of all kinds or of all relationships would remind me of what they would do for me. Remind me of the good things. I mean, we're talking very, very, very close people would say, I would say, hey, my feelings are hurt about this because this is how I feel. And all they say back to me is, look at all these good things I did for you.
Yeah. They don't even address the original.
Yeah. So, goodness. So it's also allowing someone to do good things, because I tend to say, please don't do it for me, because I don't want to hear about how you did this for me in 5 years. Yes. It's like, what? People think like that? But I know myself enough, because I did a whole lot of reflection, doing a lot of really, really hard times where it's, hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table. This is really hard for me, so I need you to please XYZ, and it can go a lot more smoothly. Otherwise, people are left in the dark and you're confused. And why do they not want me to do this? Yeah. And really try and take inventory. Really focus on yourself, because at the end of the day, you can only make yourself happy. You're not going to get married and all of a sudden be miraculously happier.
Yeah, it doesn't.
You're not going
it doesn't
to
fix anything.
Nothing is going to make you happy except for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Awesome. Well, I think that's a good one to kind of like good note to end on.
Yeah, round it out. Yeah.
So cool. Okay, well, just a quick review is healthy distraction is one of the ways journaling, education, and counseling. Mm-hmm. So you can explore one of those. If you have any questions or if you'd like to reach out and just kind of maybe get some clarity on an issue, we're always here and happy to help. Our email is growbettertogetherpodcast@gmail.com. So reach out and let us know if you need anything. So some upcoming topics we're going to be talking about are maybe how to like grow a healthy relationship. We talked about like ways in which you can do that as an individual, and then when you're together as a couple. We also brought up the idea of knowing yourself, like understanding triggers. How do we actually go through the process of identifying our triggers?
How do you start to even know yourself?
Yeah, that's going to be a fun
That'll
one.
be enough.
Yes.
This is serious.
Yes, and then importance of communication, whether it's communication with yourself, communication with relationships, communication at work. So we have a lot of fun ideas coming up. If you have any requests or any comments, you want to give us any feedback, we truly want this podcast to be a helpful resource in your life.
You can find us on Instagram.
Yeah.
Grow Through Blog.
Yeah, Grow Through Blog, Instagram channel. Yep, so please follow us on there. And then, just let us know. If you need anything at all, we're always going to be here and we're always happy to help.
Happy to listen.
Yeah. So if you like the podcast, actually click like on the podcast platform you're on. That helps the podcast be found better in podcast searches. And then also follow us so that way you can get an alert when the new podcasts are up and ready to go. Like you said, find us on social media, on Grow Through Blog, on Instagram.
On all the things.
On all the things, yes. Yeah. And then you reach out to us on email at growbettertogetherpodcast@gmail.com. Awesome. Okay, well, remember, if you're going to go through it, grow through it. Make your struggles your strengths. Yay!
Thank you for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening. Cool. And thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching.